check. No. I don't see it. I don't see it.
You don't see what?
I'm looking on my computer. Oh, we are. Here we are. Okay. I have to go onto my computer to read the comments because
Oh, I should do that.
Chat.
I should do that so I can see the comments. Please hold.
What's
the channel called?
Why? We got no.
What's the?
Did you just ask what my channel
I forgot.
was called,
I'm Home and Garden.
Rude. It is Home and Garden with Anna.
Okay.
Sister.
I basically got it. So.
Okay. We're here. All right. I see people have joined, but I don't see anybody. Everybody, whenever you guys join, give me a hello. Let me know where you're watching from, so I can give my shout outs. Okay. Sorry, D. Is it good? Can you hear me and see me good and all that kind of stuff?
For sure.
Fairfax, Virginia. Hey, Gloria. Hey, Lois. Hey, Peggy. Hey, Cindy. Hey, Nidra. West Virginia's in the house. St. Louis, Georgia. New Hampshire, California, Fresno, Idaho, Branson, Missouri, Northern Michigan in the house. We're going to start in just a few minutes, exactly 6 p.m., so we can give people some time to come on. Cindy from South Carolina, hey. Last day of tax time, Sherry. I bet you are ready to leave California and get back to Tennessee.
Hey, Anna, you're in slow motion, apparently.
It says you're in slow-mo. Your sis is not slow-mo. It's my phone. And I could not figure out how, it doesn't matter because it's Deneen's story. So just as long as you can see D and hear D, that's what's important. I have the worst reception from my phone, and you guys know this, and that's why I got a webcam, but I cannot figure out how to add her on my computer. So I have to do it from my phone. So I apologize for that.
No excuses.
Hopefully you can see D and hear her and all that stuff. It says I might be in beta. I don't know what that's all about. I don't know what beta is.
Testing.
Testing. All right, sister. So this is my sister from another mister. She is the one that found us. Now, I had said that you found us 26 years later. I was 26. Am I right? Or was it longer?
So it was, I don't know how old I was this year, but it was 1992. September of 1992. So however old, I think I was 28, and I'm a year older than you. That's my memory.
Oh, I had Robert at 26.
You were pregnant. You were for sure pregnant.
Are you sure you went?
I don't know. I don't know.
And I had him.
It's a really long time ago, Anna. I'm just going to say.
All right. So 26, 27 years.
One of those.
That's when we found each other?
Yes. Long time ago.
So there was a lot of people in the comment section that had experienced something super similar to this, whether it was a spouse who had gone through it or themselves, or they were the person who found the family, that they were the one that was given up for adoption, and and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of interest, and that's why I decided to do this with you, because I didn't want to leave people hanging, and I introduced you and I shared your channel, which is so exciting. So if you guys haven't already subscribed to Deneen's channel, it's Deneen Rewritten. I'll put the link again in the chat box. So the chat beneath this video, you guys can go and search it. I'll do it a few times because a lot of people said they didn't see it last time. but I'll do it a few times because of chat. There's a lot of chat, so it's hard to see, but I'll link it in there. That way you guys can go and subscribe to her channel. But I thought it would be really interesting for Deneen to tell her side of the story. So
Yes.
kick us off, Dee.
I'm so excited. Okay, so we're good to go. We're at 70-ish people. We're good? We good, Banana?
Yeah,
All
we're
right.
good. We're good to go.
All right. Well, first of
Yeah.
all, I have to thank you all. I've seen so many of you come over to my new YouTube channel. It's been so fun to see your names and read your comments. You're all so supportive. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Anna, as you said, there's so many people that have the same story as me. And, you know, when I'm on vacation or something, it'll come up and somebody will tell me their story. And I still find it fascinating. Like the whole family dynamic and how it happened. I just think it's fascinating. But from I think you had framed it, Deneen's side of the story. So I think I learned some things from your side of the story, by the way. So that was fun. But I'll tell you from my memory, I'll preface this by saying it was the second best day of my life, the first being clearly my kids being born. But meeting my family, the sisters and one brother from this family, and then I met another sister later on. Like I needed yet another sister, but it has been
Inside joke there.
such a joy to meet all of the sisters, and it's given me just a whole other dimension to my life. Not always easy, as Anna, you described last night perfectly, not always easy, but you know, there's a lot of families, every family I would say has not easy times. But I'll tell you about how it happened because it's my fun story. So it
Yeah.
was Labor Day weekend. If it's Labor Day is the Saturday, right? Or September, right? Not, I think it's September.
Yes.
It was September.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I know it was a holiday. I think it was Labor Day. And I was living in Maryland, and a girlfriend and I had been at the pool all day. We'd been at the pool laying out, and we came in around 4. And back then there's answering machines, right? That's how old we are. There's answering machines. And
Yeah.
my answering machine was just going off with all of these messages. And I told my friend, it was Beth, I was like, someone died. I have no idea what's going on. And when I played it, it was my dad and my brother, and they were both, one was in one room and one was in the other, you know, both on the landline talking. And they said, Deneen, sit down. You need to sit down. And I was like, can you just tell me what happened? And they said, no, you need to sit down. And the next thing out of their mouth was, we found your family. And I couldn't process. I couldn't process. I don't know if it was the wine at the pool or what the story was, but I couldn't process it. And so I said, what are you talking about? Because they had never mentioned that they would ever in my wildest dreams would I have thought my dad or my brother would be interested in looking for my family. I should go back a second and say that I always knew I was adopted. I was told from the very beginning on, so there wasn't any late life, you know, shock to the system. I always knew. When I turned 18, it was a closed adoption, important to know. So when I was 18, I went in and to the city of San Diego and opened my records. And all that means is, it doesn't mean I open my records and I get to see everything and know where people are. It just means I can open the records, and if someone chooses to find me from the family that gave me up, then my contact information is open to them and they can have it, right? So I had forgotten about that. I'd never heard from anybody. And so I was 18, now I'm 28, so this is 10 years later. When my dad and brother said that, I said, you gotta walk me through. And they said, well, we were going through some paperwork. At that time, I think my brother was going through a divorce and he was living with my dad. My mom had died a couple years before. And they said, we were going through paperwork and we found your adoption papers. And I think they also had some documents from the foster family. And on the adoption papers, it says the adoption of baby girl 𝓑𝓸𝓯𝓯𝓮𝓮. And then later down, it says Catherine Ann 𝓑𝓸𝓯𝓮. And they always thought, because it was a closed adoption, that 𝓑𝓸𝓯𝓮 was the foster family's name, because I was in foster for 2 months, 6 weeks or 2 months. Oh my God, I still have an eye patch on my eye. Only me, you guys. Only me.
That
And
was a
nobody
line.
told me. Hello, no one told me.
I can't
Whatever.
see it.
Lord. Anyway, back to the business at hand. So they saw that name 𝓑𝓸𝓯𝓮, assuming it's the foster family. They just picked up the phone, the landlines back then, and started calling numbers in San Diego listed in the phone book under 𝓑𝓸𝓯. And as Anna had said, I think my dad said it was the second or third call got to a cousin. And he's amazing. I love that guy. But he said, or my dad told him everything he knew about the family, what they were told at the time of adoption. So he said, my daughter was given up. She had a redhead birth mother. She was a French ballerina, and there were a ton of kids. And that's all he knew. And so he told our cousin this, and he said, I'm going to have to call you back. So it started from there. He knew immediately it was Suzanne, and Suzanne is our mother. And he got through to, I can't remember who got the first phone call, Anna. I can't remember that far back, but eventually it made it to everybody, and the phone calls started, which was,
That was a wild time.
it was crazy. All of these ladies calling me, and I'm your sister. I'm trying to understand their voices and what do they sound like? What do they look like behind, because I have no idea who these people are. There was no social media.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was so wild. And so I think I talked to 5 of you, and my dad calls, and when I was between calls or whatever, he calls and I said, okay, yeah, I've talked to like 4 or 5 so far. Okay. And this is by this time, right? It was late in Maryland because 3 hours difference. And I said, I've talked to 3 or 4. And he said, well, have you talked to your mother? And I said, no. And he goes, you need to call. He's like angry. You need to call her right now. She's waiting. And I said, no, I can't. I'm terrified. Like literally frozen. Because it's something you think about your whole life. I imagine what she looks like and what she sounds like and who she is and all of those things. And it was about to come to fruition. And I just was crippled. And being my dad, he's like, you will get off the phone with me right now and you will call her. And I'm going to call you back later because that's my dad. So I did. And she was on the phone. You have to know, and I don't know if you've said this on your channel, but she spoke with a very thick accent. And so I was immediately enamored by the French accent. Like, oh, she's so cool. She's sexy. That must mean I'm sexy. And so we start chatting, and she's just bringing me up to speed, asking me a lot of questions. And fun fact, I think the third question I had for her was, do you have a flat chest? Because I had a concave chest. I had a boob job later in life. I'm honest, like my sister. At that time, I was flat, right? Flat. And so I had been so curious, like, of course I must come from the most flat-chested mother. And so she giggles, and she's like, oh, honey, in that accent that only Viola can do. Oh, honey, I'm double D or whatever she is. I'm like, yeah, what? I was so upset that she wasn't flat. But
no, she was not.
Oh, God, no. In fact, most of you sisters aren't. I don't know what happened to me and a couple others. Anyway, that was the start. And from there, I literally flew out 2 days later. I was working for GE, and I went in and I said, I told my boss I got to go, I'm going. And I told her the story and she said, hold up. And she brought our whole team into the conference room and she said, Deneen has a story. Deneen's going to be leaving us. And they did this like big celebration. It was just amazing. Amazing. So,
Oh.
right? So sweet. So then 2 days later, I flew out right away. And you guys were all at the airport. And I'll never forget. So I'm walking off the plane and I lifted my hands because I always, woohoo, whatever. Do you remember that, Banana? And
Yeah.
you guys were holding signs that said happy birthday.
I don't remember that.
They said happy
I don't
birthday.
remember that.
Yes. And it
That's
was so
wild.
touching. And what was cool about that, it was my dad was there, both my brothers, my nieces and nephews, all that I had grown up with, they were all there along with all of you guys. So it was just cool. And then from there we went to another sister's house and that's where we started doing all the comparing of body parts and just special, right? And all those pictures you look back and I just remember
Yeah.
being so excited and oh my God, I have sisters and oh my God, I look like people. Like we've got the crooked middle finger
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
feet and we're tall and we're loud. Like I was
Yeah.
always the misfit in the family I grew up with. I love them dearly. But I was the misfit because I'm rambunctious for who I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
Right. And then I meet
Yeah.
all of you guys and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you, we were all at Gloria's house. I don't remember if it was around that time. It was for something we were cooking. And girls were sitting at the kitchen table separating beans
Oh,
to get ready to wash
oh
them,
no.
making sure there was no rocks in them. And I remember you standing there and you were looking and you were like, this is bizarre. You thought it was so bizarre. And we looked at you like, what's bizarre? Like, what's the deal? Everybody knows you got to clean beans. And for this is so bizarre because we all just kind of did it.
Yes.
Everybody just sat down with a bowl of beans and
Yeah.
started cleaning. Yeah.
Picking out the beans. And I'm like, what are you doing? Well, you got to pick it out because there's like stones in there. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. There were so many times like that though.
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good though to hear this story from you one on one, kind of unfiltered when we don't have any other siblings
Yeah.
around. Because I feel like anytime this subject comes up, it's always washed out with other nonsense. And I feel like I've really never listened to your point of view. I've always taken on, like I was going through, like how it made me feel, you know what I mean? And all the other nonsense around it, and never really stopped to think that this was your story, you know, and you had to go through a lot, which I learned later. And even today, you and I talked about it. Um, and there was always just so much nonsense going, and so it's been um it's been interesting, and it's good to hear that point of view. And I don't even know, honestly. I've never talked to you about if you've ever had a conversation. You don't have to talk about
Oh,
it,
I'm open.
but I don't know that you even had a conversation with my mom about it. Like, I think you've maybe said you did, but maybe, like I said, anytime we're in a group, it's very hard to get your point across in our sister group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and so I don't think I've ever heard it. I've heard it, but I don't think I've ever listened, you
Oh,
know what I mean,
yeah.
to it. And so if you're willing to share, I would love to know if you talked to her and what did she have to say about it.
Yeah. So I did. I think maybe two times. And first I want to acknowledge something. You had said it was my story or something like that. It's all of our story. It's very complex, it's very layered. while it was super impactful for me and still is, frankly, because the experience keeps evolving and changing and as we get older, but it was also your story. And I think I was the same way, that I was so enamored with the story and gaining all of these sisters and a brother and so much of the good things that came for that. I forgot that you guys were going through something different, and each one of you experienced something different because of what you knew or didn't know, right? So it's natural that you do that. You get absorbed by the experience, and it's complex, it's layered. But I did talk to Suzanne. um, I needed to understand, and I think it goes back to what I was told from my parents were told from the adoption agency when I was adopted, and that was that I was being given up because money was tight and there wasn't money for diapers. And so I went, 28 years thinking that was the case. And that was my mindset. And so when I met everyone, I found out, it was a little different story. And then I found out there were two more after me. And so I needed to process that and understand that from Suzanne, right? Like, it's it's that narrative that you go through in your head. And I'm a very sensitive person that gets wrapped around the axle on things. But I just wanted to understand why me, why was I given up? But we talked about it, and we came to a point where I understood her point of view pretty much, and she was amazing to she was an amazing grandma, bon mama. We called her bon mama. So my kids got to have the chance to have, another grandma, and I got to have a relationship with her that was quite fun because she and I are a lot alike with our spiciness and
Yeah.
things like that. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we did have a couple, not deep, right? Because it's a loaded subject. But we did. And I'm so blessed that I got to meet her and spend as many years with her as I did, and to understand her on that level and sort of what had happened then. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was a crazy ride, and I'm glad for me and you that I was able to step off that roller coaster and just well, I feel like I have. I hope you feel like you have too, because you and I have had many conversations where we've mended fences because we didn't get along for a long
Oh
time.
God.
And I think a lot of that was a lot of us being a lot alike and hard-headed and bullheaded, and we both had our opinions, and we both thought our opinion was the most important, and all of that stuff. And so, and then there's other voices fueling that fire, right? And so it makes it easy to keep that narrative up. And so for me, I feel so happy that I was able to step off that roller coaster and, and have those talks with you. And, we could forgive one another, and we could move forward in our relationship, and be sisters, and
Yes.
just be sisters and be happy for one another, and all that stuff. Because, I talked about it in my life. You don't want to live back here. That's the past. I mean, you have to deal with it, right? You have to deal with the stuff in the past, but you can't continue to live in it. You have to, deal with it in your own way. And I think a lot of sisters, I'm going to speak for myself, but you tell me what you think, wanted to tell you how to handle it, how you should be handling it.
Still do.
And I know for me, yeah, I know for me, I've realized that it was not fair of me to, tell you to just get over it, because it wasn't me who was giving up, you know, it wasn't me that had to go through all those feelings of abandonment and not being wanted and whatever else it is that you felt.
Yeah.
It was you, you know, and so. that was really fresh. And I don't think that just, you can't just get over that. But from the very beginning, a lot of us, I think, said to you, just get over it, be done with it, you know?
Yeah.
And I know I did. And I, I'm so happy that I came to the realization and I was able to let that go and just say, you know what, she needs to do what she needs to do, you know? And
Yeah.
maybe a part of that, maybe a part of that died when both my parents died, you know, because I didn't feel like I needed to protect them anymore. I talked to you about that and I told
Yeah.
you I was very close to them and I felt like I had to protect them because I felt like nobody was on their side at that time, you know? And so maybe a lot of that died with them.
So
And yeah,
yeah, and listen, I love our journey and how it's changed because, if we're being honest as we are, we could go to blows. We really had a hard time together. Many, many years of that,
yeah,
right? And I think it's only been the
yeah,
last few years that we've decided to work on that, and we've had these heart to hearts where we're both allowed to talk without judgment,
mhm,
and
yeah,
that has helped us move on. I would say that
yeah,
it's not so much about, and I feel like I have to keep explaining this. It's not so much about, it wasn't that I was thinking bad about Suzanne or anything like that. It was just a very emotional thing around things that I learned. It was heavy. It's a big part of my life, as it is for you all also. But it didn't end with learning that, right? Over the years, other things come up. Um, more pain happens, not just for me, with other, again, so complex, so layered. Things have
yeah,
come up, and this idea that I should be over it. Well, if it was an isolated incident that was, oh, great, I was given up, whatever, it's done, we'll never talk about it again. Well, first of all, I will talk about it because it's a freaking amazing story and it's a blessing. And so yes, I am going to talk about it. But secondly, um, I think things have continued to happen that have caused trauma for all of us. So it's not like the hurt goes away. It keeps coming back for reasons, for different reasons. And I know the family I've been told the family's tired of hearing it from me, and hearing what, my question is, hearing what? I don't sit around saying, "Oh, poor pitiful me" anymore. Like, and I don't think I ever did, honestly. What I said is, and I believe this to be true, and it's because I love you guys so much and benefited so much by meeting you and having you in my life, that it was really hard for me not to be supported in that, right? And it just is. And I'm not someone who buries pain or buries trauma. I won't do it. I think it causes problems in people's lives, but everybody deals with it differently. um, I have to anchor again on the fact that this has been an amazing experience for me. I loved my family that raised me and my two older brothers that were 10 and 11 years old or older than me. I was very, very spoiled. I know I lived an amazing life. I know that. But there still is this thing where I hear you guys talk about your childhood. Still, when pictures are shared, when it's all of you guys together somewhere, I get a little hit because, like, oh, I wish I could have been part of their life. I missed so much. So that still stings. It
yeah,
does still sting. Um, but overall, it's just been amazing. I will tell you, two very different families. My family loved me in a way that they showed it, and it's the only way they knew how, by giving me things, right? They didn't make a ton of money, but I didn't want for anything. They paid for my school. I don't know how they did that. They paid for me to go on a 2-month backpacking trip across Europe. But I don't know how they did this. I was spoiled. That's how they showed love. I never once in my life, and again, people are going to say, stop talking about it, but it's important. I never once heard I love you. Not once. I never once got a hug. So they didn't show love that way. And when I met you guys, I was like, oh my God, what is happening here? Because you were always hugging, you're always kissing, always I love you. Like
Mhm.
I remember thinking the first time we were together and people would leave and you'd give each other a kiss and say, I love you as you're leaving. I was like, don't you just say that? Like, I don't know. Don't you just say that when in their coffin? Like, it just seems so foreign. But oh my
Yeah.
God, had I not learned how to love out loud and say it, because that is so important, so important. And I learned that from you guys. And I loved it. And had I not, I would not have been the mother I am today. It is very important that I tell my kids I love them. And I have all of you to thank for that. I will not cry. I will not cry. But yeah, life works out how it should, and we all do the best we can. And, the trauma makes us go
Yeah.
sideways sometimes. But
Yeah.
I think we all need to and me too. Look, I am just as guilty in this trauma. I am just as guilty for inflicting trauma. We all do that, right? It's pain leads to anger. Anger comes from pain. All of those things. So we've all experienced it. I have inflicted pain too, and I hate it. I hate it because I love everyone. I really do. It doesn't mean I don't get frustrated and mad,
Yeah.
but it's hard. It's hard, and
Yeah.
it's a blessing. Both are true.
Yeah. It's blessing all at the same time. A cursing and a blessing. That's a curse and a blessing all at the same time. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It's definitely been, for everybody that's watching that has been through this, where it didn't, work out
Oh,
exactly the way you thought, just because we are, on the screen together and whatever, it doesn't mean that there wasn't trial and tribulation along the way.
yeah.
And there, it's learning, what I've learned over the last few years is, I'm really working on myself.
Mm,
And I'm working on, we talked about that in Arizona.
we did.
I'm really working on myself and really working on,
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I know.
which I'm
Anna,
super worried about, by
oh,
the way, but I know you're going to be fine. I know you're going to be fine. I know you're going to be
you
fine.
keep freezing, just so you know.
It trips,
Yeah, Mary,
it
she
blows
froze
my
for a bit.
mind that you're like, yeah. I'm sorry, guys. Did I freeze in a weird position?
You're you're back. You're back, at least for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I
It just is weird. It's weird that you're gonna do. I mean, not weird. It's scary. Not weird. It's awesome, but it's scary. To think about that. And it's like, are we gonna have any communication, or do I just have to watch your YouTube channel? Like, I'm so worried.
you realize there's communication channels in Europe, right? Like, I'm like, hello.
I know, but you're going to be walking. Like, I don't know what the whole deal is. Like, I imagine you on your shorts, you're walking through the freaking Arizona desert, and that scares me enough as it is. So I'm like, oh my God, a bobcat's going to attack her, a mountain lion, or a snake, or just something. I mean, are you going to have to deal with that kind of stuff on that trail?
Not on the Camino, the Portuguese to Spain route. No, there'll be cows and goats and dogs and cats and rabbits, and I think some of the other routes have some more scary things, but no, I'm not going to have to deal with that. And I am not scared. I can tell you, I am not scared at all. This is going to be, first of all, I love my solo time. And I'm going to have a full day. I can interact as much as or as little with the other pilgrims as possible. There'll be very long stretches where there's no humans, and I'm good with that. I want that dead time, right? And I also just want to take in the environment, because when I'm out and about, I'm always, I always want to see and experience what's going on around me. So I'm not scared at all. Let's get it. Let's go.
That's awesome.
It's time. Yeah. So don't worry
That's
about me. Are you
awesome.
kidding me? I'm 5'9" and
Not
not like you, but
5'9". I thought we were 5'10".
we were. I
I thought
shrunk.
we were 5'10".
Remember, I have
Oh,
that
don't tell me
back
that.
issue. No, because remember I have that back
Oh,
curve,
that's
and
right.
so I shrink. I'm 5'9". I'm barely 5'9" now.
I
I'm a little girl.
totally forgot about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. So
So where are you in, this, and we don't have to talk about the whole adoption thing, but compared to when how many years it's been, 30 plus years, where are you now in that? Because I mentioned in my live yesterday that I don't even remember all of the part where we met you. I feel like you've always been a part of the
I
family,
know. Where am I?
so it's weird to me.
I think it's weird. Where I am now, almost 61, and life and loss, as you move on. Where I am now, I'm just really wanting everyone to suspend disbelief that any of us do things maliciously, because we have in the past, right? And I just wish that we could spend the last years just being family. I want that so much, and I know that is a hard ask. It's a hard ask, and it may not happen, but what will happen will, and it's okay if not, because we all have to do what's comfortable for each other, right? We're all different, and we all have different hearts,
Right.
and it is what it is. But that's where I'm at. I've had a big awakening since letting go of my old life, and so many of the things that go with that. I'm feeling different, and I'm learning different, and I want different, and it's going to be a process. I think the Camino is really going to get me set right, but I'm happy with where I'm at. I truly am happy with who I am, which I haven't been forever. There's so many things to change, but I'm also very happy with who I am and where I'm going and where I've been, and I'm proud of you guys too.
You should be.
Thank
You should
you.
be. So, isn't it funny that you and I are we kind of hit the same realization around the same age for different reasons, but we both kind of hit the same realization about life,
What
you
would you
know?
say,
And
Anna?
it's
I don't think I asked you this. What would you say was the trigger for you to really analyze who you were and make the changes you have? Because you have totally changed. You are, uh, the
yeah.
growth you've done is very notable. So, what was it? What was the trigger, or what was the thing that said, "Hey, I'm going to try and be better, or be different, or
Yeah.
whatever"?
Right. Yeah. Okay, so Ernie, he's my guy, right? He's my number one. He's my support system. He's my everything. And so, you know, I can talk to him about anything. And when I say to him, this bothers me about me, or this bothers me about a situation, and I'm able to be brutally honest, because, you know, when I think to answer your question in short, I was brutally honest with myself. That I think that you know, we say if you can look in the mirror when you go to bed and you're okay with that person, that's all that matters. I wasn't okay with that person.
Mm.
And you know, I I never you know, it was a learn the way I behaved was a learned behavior. I talked to you about
Yeah.
this, you know, growing up in chaos, and and only knowing how to survive in chaos. um you tend to create it. You tend to create chaos for yourself when things are going good, because that's really the only way you know how to survive in chaos. And you know, really learning that. It does none of that means that I don't stand up for myself. I, you know, that was a, you know, a fine line for me. Like, where do I draw the line at, you know, standing up for myself, because I'm not going to be a pushover, and I'm not going to let people take advantage of me. But not everybody deserves my attention. And so learning how to, you know, not give those people my attention because they don't deserve it, um, is part of my growth journey. And I mentioned Ernie and I didn't finish. Just bouncing things off of him and really talking through things with him,
Yeah.
you know, and he and I having just conversations about it, being truthful with your spouse, you know, and or partner or whatever, and having that person to bounce it off for me was super important, because we've been together since I was a kid, you know, and Ernie has seen it all. So, um, you know, um, so there was that, but really just not being happy with the person, you know, that I was going to bed looking at in the mirror. Was I really truly happy with everything I did that day or said that day, or how I acted that day, you know, whatever. And this was a long time ago. It took me a long time to get to the point of where I am today.
Yeah.
It was definitely not an overnight thing. Um, Learning how to not live in the past was huge. And you know, definitely a stepping stone towards the right direction. And um everything, if you know, if somebody's talking behind your back, it's none of your business.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's none of your business. So, you know, I mean, I was tested with that today. And who do you think's the first person I called? Ernie, you know, and talked to him about it.
Yeah, he's a stabilizing
And
force.
he is. And so, you know, and we had a great laugh about it. Because it's, you know, pardon my French, people, same shit, different day.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so it's the bonus of that is I got to see today how many steps forward,
Oh,
and others have, and that's sad, you know. So but yeah, it was really just looking at myself, you know, and not, and you know, and also the past few years, I would say probably the last couple of years we lived in Temecula up until now, you know, church, so my faith also. But our pastor here in Tennessee is freaking amazing. He's a realist and he's amazing. And you know, just learning, developing my relationship with God, which is a huge, you know, a huge deal. And I wish I could talk to more people about that, because I learned so many bad things about religion over the years. You know, like, for instance, you might get a Christian, quote unquote, that would say, you're having wine and you say you're a Christian,
Yeah.
or
The
you said a
judgment.
dirty word and you say you're, yes. And our pastor talks about that, and he's brought a lot of stuff to light for me. And so, anyways, developing my relationship with God has been amazing, because he's my buddy and I can talk to him about anything. And I can't wait for the day that I get to sit on a rock or a bench or the
Oh,
grass and whatever and sit and talk to him and say, hey man, what was that like? Or just whatever, like just my faith in God is really what has, and something that I still really do struggle with is judging. I'm trying not to judge people, because it is such a fast
I know.
reaction for me. Oh, that is something that I am really working on, is trying not to judge people by their appearance, or just, it's so bad that I'm
I
like that.
love
And it drives me,
your
it
honesty is so
drives me
refreshing.
nuts.
I,
Oh,
you
I love
guys,
you.
and everyone
But
on
it's
here,
true though.
I really quick. It is so admirable for you to recognize that that person, while still you, is not the person you wanted to be. So you just take that part and you work on it. And I think that's super admirable, because that is so hard to do. And the changes you've made, it's crazy. And I hope I can get to that point. I'm working on it. But I love
Yeah,
that. I
you
think
you
you have made,
you
and
have.
well, I still, I'm at a C minus, a D. I got some stuff to do, but Anna, it's been amazing, and it's been super cool to watch your journey and how different you are. Um, and at the end of the day, I think we all just need to, like it, as you said, it's nobody's business what other people think about us. Or that goes for anybody else. What we think about, it doesn't matter, right? It's none of our business.
Yeah,
But gosh, that's
yeah.
that's a hard muscle to exercise. It's a hard muscle to build, and you've done a really great job. And I love the God aspect. I remember long ago, I love this post from you, because I got it. I really got it, because my relationship with God is, I believe in God. I am a Christian. I'm not baptized. I wasn't raised in the church. I was in campus life groups, which was really great and wonderful. But my relationship is sporadic. I don't love that, but my relationship is sporadic. And I remember you telling me that part of the reason what the Bible was, um, my words, intimidating to you. Like you just couldn't connect to it. It just, it's confusing. And that's the
Yeah,
way I am. I have tried to pick the thing up no matter what version it is. I'm just like, I don't understand. I can't follow. So my relationship with God has to be my relationship to God, and that doesn't have to be anybody else's, right? And it's been so important to you. And yeah,
100%.
yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's so 100%. I got to the point to where I bought a children's Bible,
Oh,
because I was so bored with the adult
yes.
Bible. I bought a children's Bible, and now my grandson Adrian has it, because my daughter-in-law got me a Bible. And I'll send you the link if you're interested,
Mm,
sister. She sent me, her and Michael got me this Bible, and it's for women. And the beautiful thing about it is I put these on in the morning and I read the Bible along with it, with
ah,
with somebody reading the Bible with me. So I'm not bored, because all the names are pronounced properly, and you kind of get a feel, and then you can deep dive and do like studies in there, because I never understood what studying the Bible meant, or
yeah,
when people say I have Bible study, like I didn't
yes,
know what that meant.
yeah,
And all of that stuff. And so in the beginning, I had a hard time admitting all of that, because there is some sense of, I'm a Christian, where you feel some sense of responsibility, like you should know all of these things, when that is so not the truth. You aren't expected to know everything, and nobody does,
yeah, yeah,
except for God, our creator. And so so anyways, Ernie's reading the Bible
Oh,
too. And he just finished a book that was really hard for me. I will tell you, Leviticus is a very hard book because that book really makes you look at yourself.
really?
And I had a really hard time. I talked to my audience about it too one time, that I had a really hard time getting through that book. And so Ernie and I got to talk about that. And so it's really cool because it's a great bond for he and I that we get to share that together.
Oh,
And, we do church together and we do all that stuff together. And, life doesn't stop. You don't stop having fun because you read the Bible and go to church.
yeah.
And I think a lot of people associate that, like I have to give up my life. It's not going to be fun anymore,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
not how it is at all.
Agree.
And so, we got to make being Christian cool again. Got to make it cool again
I agree.
because there's too many people out there. There's too many people out there that don't. But anyway, so that my walk with God and my relationship with Him is really the final factor in all of that. But it all started with me looking in the mirror at me, and I needed to be okay, and I'm okay today with that person.
You are okay. And I am too.
But it doesn't mean I'm perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean I'm perfect. I'm still working on, you and I talked on the phone today, and I still have my little moment of, you know, it's almost like when an addict says that they, always have those temptations, and they have to call their sponsor,
Oh,
and they have to work through that to not do whatever it is they are addicted to. It's kind of the same thing, when you start to fall into old habits of who you were in the past. I think the good thing is that I recognize it, and so I have to call Ernie and I have to talk about it with him, and then we end up laughing about it,
oh,
and it's
I love
great,
that.
and so then I get to go, yay, you actually grew, like that's growth.
Yeah. And
So
he's so
I just go ahead, sister.
Oh, I was just going to say he is such a grounding force. He is. And I'm so glad you
Yeah.
have that kind of person that does ground you. But look, the effort's on, you're the one that put in the effort at the end of the day. You had your cheerleader, but you're the one that put in the effort at the end of the day. I don't have one of those husband
Yeah,
things. I don't have one of those things that can.
I know.
It's fine. I appreciate being. I'm good with not having one of those things. I'm a dog mom.
Hey, maybe you'll meet yourself a Portuguese man or a Spaniard.
I'm not gonna.
Maybe you'll call us from Spain and say, sister, I eloped.
I I have this wild dream. No, I honestly, I would never. I don't think I would ever get married again. But I'm like, hey, maybe I'll meet somebody on the trail and we'll open our own albergue in Portugal or Spain, and that's where I'll move.
I could,
Happen. What's the
I could
Spaniard?
totally see that happening.
It could happen, and then we could make a movie about me. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
No.
You know, it's so funny because you are so much, like Diane, our sister. You have that free spirit hippie side of you, like Diane. God
It's
rest her
so
soul.
true.
And yeah, and I was telling the audience yesterday that you look a lot like Stevie, or I see a lot of you and Stevie. Liz too. I think when we all get together, though, oh, you and Liz, the eyes, yeah, for
And
sure.
the little eyes.
But I see a lot of Stevie. Yeah, the
I
little
know.
eyes.
I know.
Um, it's so crazy,
I
but I
love
could
it.
totally see you doing that. I could totally see you doing
Oh,
that. It would be,
I won't kick it out of
I
bed.
thought of Diane the other day because Aiden, my grandson, I took him shopping the other day and I said, so what are you excited for college aside from football? And he wants to get into kinesiology. Did I say that
Awesome.
right?
Yes, you did.
Kinesiology? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he's talked about it before, but he's still talking about it. He's super excited about it and reminded me of Diane when she did that. Remember when she got into that?
She
She
and
was
I
nuts. She was nuts.
she and I were of the same ilk that way. She was also, quite a driver in business, very successful. And we related that
Yep.
way. I remember that.
Yep.
But the hippie side too, I love that about her, the spiritualness and the love of nature and all those kinds of things. I don't mind that you called me a hippie. My kids call me a hippie all the time. Peace, love, hashish, all those kinds of
I don't think it's derogatory at all. I don't think it's derogatory. I think it's a cool thing. There's
things.
so many. It just means you're a free spirit.
That is right. That's
But
right.
both of you are identical as far as the business mind goes. You guys both were like very strong business women, where I remember that about Diane. She was so business, driven, and she held it all together. She was so smart. She was such a smart person.
So
And
I thought about this the other day, and it entirely freaked me out because I think she came through to me because my situation now is not unlike what she went through. You remember she ended up at the later part of her life really downsizing. She had that beautiful home, and I sound like our mother. She had a beautiful home in Oregon, or yeah, right, Bend. She had that
yeah,
beautiful home,
yeah,
Medford. I don't know. And she ended up downsizing. She ended up working for Harry and David, right, in the call center or whatever. So her life took on a completely different path, very similar to what I'm going through now. I could, a couple months ago, I would say going through this hell. Right now, it's like, oh, I really love this next part of my life. It's very liberating and magical. But she went through, her life sadly didn't end the way I'm hoping mine does. But she's up there having a good time now. But wow, how similar are we and how we ended up for the next chapter,
yeah,
right? How similar. That's
yeah,
crazy to me.
yeah,
So
yeah,
again,
yeah.
blessing, like,
Well, because
go,
go ahead, sister. Go
I
ahead.
don't know what I was going to say. It was crazy to me when that popped into my head. I was like, oh my God, I am following her path. Like, I am following her path. So life is crazy.
Did Yeah, it is. You said that she felt like she came through to you.
Oh yeah.
Was that was that what you were thinking?
Yes, I felt like that message came directly from her, and I was on a walk, and it was just something that popped in that I'd never considered before. I've always thought about her spirituality and how we would talk about the things. We would talk about crystals. We would talk about those things, and we had that in common. Not a lot of other things, but the business driven, the spirituality, and all those things. And for this thought to just pop in on a walk saying, we're not unlike, like, you had a sister that went through the same thing. You're on the same path. And I was like, oh, damn, that's crazy. So,
Yeah.
isn't that
There's I do believe, well, yeah, and I believe though that you're okay though. You're maybe you learned from her because you're okay. You're going to be okay. And
well, no, I
you're taking the
am. I am now. But I got to be honest because I think mental health is something that people get afraid about talking about, right? And I think it's extraordinarily important for people to talk about. And this family is the same. They don't like to talk about mental health, but I struggle. Okay. I have struggled. I've been on antidepressants. I go off and on depending on what kind of perceived crisis I feel like I'm in. Um, but I am on meds now, and it saved my life because I will tell you, I went through a part during this unemployment where I was so low that I was not crawling back out. And so I wasn't okay then. And that's okay because you got to get all the way in this situation. And mental health illness is not a choice. You don't decide you want to be sad. It's not sadness, it's hopelessness. That's what it's different. It's physiological. I did not choose to be in that position. It happened. And once I was able to, there was an incident that scared us and woke me up. And now I'm okay. Now I'm not going to let that control me right now. Right. I can't. So now, yes, praise God, I am fine now. I'm better than fine now. I am welcoming anything that comes my way. And like I've said on my channel, it's going to be different. I know it's going to be vastly different, but instead of fighting it, I'm letting it in. And I'm not trying
Good.
to control it, right? For my whole life, have written goals. I will do this by 25. I'll do this by 30. I'll do this by 30, all of the things. And I am tired of trying to follow these rules I've set for myself. I'm going to let it go. And the universe and God, you do with me what you will. Clearly, I don't need to be in the corporate world anymore. That's the message. And great, I'm going to go do the Camino and I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do next, right? Maybe it's the Spaniard.
Well, that's growth, sister. That's growth. That's growth, though.
Yes.
So we're just about an hour in, and
Yeah.
I know my Griff man needs to cook some dinner. So before we end the live, I want you to let everybody know what. So get them to go over because I'm excited. You're my sister, so let everybody know what to expect. What's coming? Like real.
Happy to. So
go for it.
It's really getting into what happens when you get to be, I think, later in life and you are at that crossroads of, some people are retiring and they didn't know what they would feel like when they were retired, or some people are continuing to work, or some people lose their husband, or, there's all these different things. But I really want to talk about aging in a very honest, engaging way. Not the, oh, it's fine, you can get Botox. Like I don't want, like, there are some shitty things about getting old, like my face is melting and things like that. Like, aging is real. So we'll talk candidly about aging and what do we do. We'll talk about how do you move on to a next chapter if that's what you want to do. Definitely talking about the Camino. The Camino's huge for me right now. But also, something I've learned over the last 2 years, even before I was laid off, is this idea of mindfulness and being grateful and celebrating the little things that bring you joy. So we talked about this the other day, right? There are little things that bring me joy during the day, whether it's a little decor vignette, or the little porcelain bird that I have in my family room that Peyton put a little sombrero on. Like, that brings me joy. So I love that, I made this pretty salad and I put all of the ingredients in a bowl. Like, just take a moment and say, "Aw, that's pretty," right? You just stop and pause for a second while life is passing you by and take note of what brings you joy. So we'll talk about that, right?
Yeah.
What brings me joy, what could bring you joy, and all that stuff. So this sounds really philosophical and stupid, but it's going to be fun because I'm fun. So we'll just go through it
You
together.
are fun. My sister, she's the one that dances on tables. So the music comes on, and she's the first one to take her shoes off and jump up on the table.
There will be dancing. I'll let you.
We always have a good time, right? Dance parties.
Oh, I love our dance parties.
They're always the best.
Nothing better than our dance parties. So yeah, it's all of that. And of course, I'm only as good as the people that want to listen to me. So I want to hear what you guys want to talk about. And you'll always get candid. I am who I am. And we'll talk about that journey.
Yeah. Danina's a lot like me. So as honest and transparent as I am, you guys are going to get the exact same thing with Dee. She's not going to put on a show.
Yeah.
She is a great hostess. I will tell you that. If she ever decides to show you guys how she hosts the guest, she's the best hostess. She doesn't like to do things unless she can do it right. And everything is spot on, and she's not the sister that I learned the putting a napkin out at the coffee station. That was from Dominique. Her mother-in-law did that. So I do it now all the time. I love it. Yeah. I always put a cloth. Yeah, I put a cloth napkin out, and it's a nice welcoming little thing, But anytime I've went to your home and spent the night, it was always, the coffee and the breakfast and the display and the hummus and the veggie tray and just everything was always so perfect. And you really that really brings you so much joy to
Oh,
do that. And I
I
love
love it.
that,
I love it. I love
and
having people
yeah,
over. The other thing I
yeah.
want to talk about is because this is crazy. I used to hate thrifting. Everything about thrifting. I hate the smell. I hate, ugh, I feel dirty, all of the things. And my kids love to thrift. And so I'd go along because I want to be with my kids when they visit, whatever. But I'm kind of obsessed right now by the whole thrifting situation. And what I love, and I will share this.
Yeah. Uh-oh, we lost her. Oh, there you are.
So
Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Liz was calling, so our sister, our other sister.
Oh.
So I, that brings me a lot of joy. So I love coming back and like integrating it into my decor. So it's just going to be life. It's life, a lot like yours, lifestyle. Yours is cleaning. We're not going to talk about my
So
cleaning because
fun.
I have a house.
Love it.
I like housekeepers, so there won't be cleaning.
Yeah.
But
You do. You do. I used to too, though. I used to too.
I,
I used to always love to have my housekeepers, but I'm over that now. I love taking care of my own home. I always liked the housekeepers, but I hated when they were there.
oh yeah, I go outside.
So inconvenient.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hate
it
it.
is. I
I
go
don't like to
outside.
be inconvenienced, you
Yeah.
know.
To be
I
fair,
had them when I had kids. When I had kids, when I living at home. When I became an empty nester, I didn't need a housekeeper anymore. It's very easy for me to keep my house up now, you know.
yeah. To be
I think our
fair,
sister Gloria is probably the most obsessed with the clean house,
very clean.
right? She's like the one that like you're not going to find a speck of dust in her house. I
Very
like to
clean.
think we all are like that, but I think she's probably the cleanest out of all of
Oh
us,
my God, it's a
right?
full-time job. Yeah, she's so clean. So clean. I just so you know,
Really, it
I have
is.
not been doing housekeepers because I don't have income. That would not be right. But I do when I have guests. I'll have them come in to do the deep. So I just want to be honest.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. I don't doubt it, sister. I don't doubt it at all. But well, guys, I
don't.
think we're gonna let us Deneen's are we good? Are you good? Do you
I'm
want to
good.
share anything else?
I'm just so happy you guys all listened in to our story because it's such a gift. And so thank you for listening. Thank you for popping
I
on.
hope it helps somebody.
Me too. Isn't that why we talk about it? Like
Yeah,
it's so important to share stories. And
yeah.
I've seen some of the comments you guys that have commented.
Mm.
I'll go back afterwards and look because I see some of you have had some experiences as well. So I would love to hear your stories always.
Yeah. I'm gonna go through and look at the comments too and respond to everybody. But because I'm the one that has the live, it's gonna take a minute for them to come through
Okay.
on my phone. So I'll get to everybody's comments and respond. But you too, Dee, if you can respond to them, go ahead and respond
Oh,
to them.
certainly.
And if
Yeah.
I've seen that you have, then I won't. I won't. But anyways, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. And like I said, you know what? Before I forget, let me go to Dee's channel. I call her D, and I don't know why I call you D and I call Sierra C. It's just a natural D and C. It's like short. I like short for you guys, but um, I just before we end, I'm going to put Deneen's
Channel. Deneen rewritten.
channel. Deneen rewritten. I'm gonna put the link in the chat so that you guys can just click on that and it'll take you right to her channel. I'm doing it right now.
And it's brand new.
I'll do it
It's
a
brand
couple.
new. So bear with me
It's
while I
brand
pull.
new. I'm going to do it a couple times.
Awesome.
I'm doing it like 3 times in a row or 4 times in a row. That way you guys can find it easier. There you go.
Thank you. I love you,
All right,
Banana.
sister. Well, I
I
love
love you so much
you.
too.
Thank you so much. We'll talk
Yeah,
tomorrow.
for sure. Bye all.
See you guys later. Thanks so much for hanging out
Bye.
with us. Bye.